to another Telltale Books video, and the story is called Night Vigil. We're still dealing here with stories that Ellison published in fanzines. This wasn't published in one of the major magazines. It was a fanzine called Peon, published in May of 1955. So still not a professional sale, but of all the stories I've read so far by Ellison, this one by far feels the most professional. It feels a lot like his regular fiction that he wrote and sold to the magazines. For whatever reason, he didn't include it in the Essential Ellison, but he did think enough of it that he put it in the collection Alone Against Tomorrow. So I don't think he thought this was a juvenile work. And it's not. It really is an excellent story. I'll read you a little of how it starts out so you can get a sense of the quality of writing here, which I love. I love Ellison's style of writing. It's the general kind of writing that I talk about when I talk about Bradbury and Lovecraft and Poe. You know, that deeper kind of writing where they are concerned about sound and how the words go together, where they smith each of the sentences for its specific imagistic and emotional impact on you, instead of just writing the words like authors today do. So listen to this opening. It's a really great opening to the story. I'll read the first paragraph and stop there so that I don't violate anybody's copyrights. Darkness seeped in around the little Quonset. It oozed out of the deeps of space and swirled around Ferreño's home. The automatic scanners turned and turned, whispering quietly their message of weariness, unconsciously reassuring the old man. I like that. I think that's really, really good. It's very descriptive, very powerful. It gives me a very strong image of this guy sitting alone with machinery around him, off, well away from everything. The synopsis of the story is that you have a person who, when he was still a teenager, a computer decided he was the perfect one to do a certain job. A job that mankind felt they needed because they had found evidence elsewhere on other planets that some great powerful race had come and wiped out whole civilizations. And they wanted to know when this race was going to come to wipe out Earth. So they set up this kid, because a computer says he's the one that would be the most capable of handling this. They set him on a small little hut on an asteroid, well away from Earth, with no way for him to get back. Not an easy way for him to communicate. He's there by himself for the rest of his life, and he's never going to leave this hut. He's there for good, because he's going to stay there until the aliens start coming and he can push a button which would then warn the Earth. From a current day technological perspective, we can all see that would be totally unnecessary. We could have an automated warning system. You know, something. I mean, the Voyager space probe is still, it's out beyond the solar system and still sending communications back to us. Would last, something like that would last a whole lot longer than a human being would. Because what if the aliens didn't come back until after he dies? And what if he just goes mad being there all by himself, which is kind of what this story is about. This guy's, you don't know if he really has descended into madness, but he's questioning himself and questioning his sanity and questioning, whether or not he's missed them already and the Earth is already destroyed, and just goes down all these avenues of self-doubt and fear. And and you know that it's leading towards madness. So at the end of the story, you really don't know if he's witnessing something real or if he's already mad and hallucinating the whole thing. I'm not doing it justice. The way Harlan Ellison wrote this really makes it powerful, really makes it a strong story. This is one of those things where you have a strong idea that you need a strong character to pull it off. And I feel Ellison did. Okay, maybe you don't get a sense of the character's whole lifetime, but you do get a sense of who this person is and what he's going through in this situation. And it's powerful. I'm calling this one a top tale. I'm impressed. I really love it. And I recommend it for any of you that are okay with science fiction that has a darker side to it. Because that's what Ellison did. He didn't write about the squeaky clean, war-free, poverty-free futures that all the other science fiction writers wrote about, where technology is just going to create this total utopia where everything is pure and perfect. He wrote science fiction where people are mad and aliens are strange and people do weird things. More, I guess you could say, a little more realistic, but also a lot more pessimistic, a lot darker, a much less positive view of mankind. And I think that's what makes his fiction really strong. It's probably what puts a lot of people off of Ellison, is the fact that he is so dark and pessimistic so much of the time, and he writes a lot about things like alienation. But I think that's what makes his fiction great, is that it is a different voice from what anybody had been reading up until that time. Like I say, I'm currently reading 3001, The Final Odyssey, and that's one of those Star Trek futures where everything's wonderful. In the year 3001, there is no war, there is no pestilence, there is no poverty, nobody wants for anything. We've gone off into space, we've done all these wonderful things, we have elevators to the stars, colonies on the moon and on Mars, and we're terraforming Venus, and none of this costs anything either, and it's just, that unrealistically optimistic future that we love about old-time science fiction. But Ellison gives us that little bit of reality that the future is going to have dirt, the future is going to have fears, the future is going to have loneliness, the future is going to have some negative sides. And I think that came from, after World War II, seeing what the atomic bomb really did and starting to see things like pollution and starting to worry about overpopulation. I think people were already starting to see that technology had its downside. And it wasn't all just flying cars and robot dogs. I think Ellison was the first one to really take that and run with it and do some darker stuff. But he was less focused on the big technological issues like overpopulation or pollution, and a lot more focused on the human issues of loneliness, isolation, alienation, fear, hatred, the dark sides of our human nature. So this is getting out of his juvenile fanzine work now. I believe from here on we start to get into professional publications. Though going through Ellison's bibliography and John Brunner's bibliography, in Robert Silverberg's bibliography, the three of them, in the late 1950s, they wrote a lot of stuff to make money. There were markets that needed fiction. They didn't want Ernest Hemingway. They wanted excitement. They wanted murder mysteries. They wanted a safe level of eroticism. They wanted science fiction adventures. That's what the market was looking for. That's what the market was willing to pay for. But to make a living off of it, they had to write a lot of stuff very quickly, and it had to be pretty formulaic, pretty not bad, not necessarily bad writing, but not really what these writers wanted to write. All three of them would go on to write much, much better stuff. But at this time in their careers, they were cranking out 5, 6, 7 or more stories a month. There'd be whole issues of science fiction magazines that would be almost entirely Robert Silverberg under a variety of pseudonyms. And it's not that he just couldn't stop writing, it was that he had to write that much to pay the bills, to get where he wanted to get in life. And same goes for Ellison, and same goes for Brunner. Ellison titled a book, or what was it? What's the title of it? Something, I've got it here. Here it is. Some of the stories I'm going to be talking about in the near future will come out of here. Honorable whoredom at a penny a word. That's what these writers were doing. Love that title. So we've got a lot of quickly written stuff aimed at a specific market that wasn't necessarily what these writers wanted to write. And there's going to be a lot of that I'm going to have to trudge through before I get to the really great stuff. And I really didn't realize that when I started this, wanting to read everything by these authors. But I'm going through their bibliographies and I'm seeing this fact and I'm going, oh, crap. But I'm committed, or should be committed, one way or the other. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to talk about each and every one of these stories. Silverberg is going to be a nightmare because between 1959 and 1964, I think he wrote all of these erotic novels. And I know they're not going to be very good. I know they're going to be hard for me to track down. They may be expensive for me to get a hold of because they're collector's items now. There's people that want all that 1950s erotica. I probably won't get a hold of all of it, but I'll at least get a hold of some of it. I found one by Silverberg that on eBay at a price I was willing to pay, that I ordered just this morning, so I'll be doing some of that. Be forewarned, they're going to be erotica from a time that is very male-oriented. I doubt they're going to present women in a very good light, but understand these writers were doing this to pay the bills, not because this is what they wanted to write, but because that's what the market was demanding. There was a big market for it. It was paying better than science fiction. They could knock it out fast and collect the check. And the stories were, I believe, were pretty formulaic. I'll find out for sure. I've never read any of this stuff. I'll find out for sure if any of it's any good, or if it is all just like one story repeated with different characters. We'll see. Maybe I'll enjoy it. Who knows? But that's to come, and that's where Ellison will be. That's where I'll be moving into with Harlan Ellison after Night Vigil. The next story. Hang on. The next story will be a fantasy story called Glowworm, which was published professionally. Leave comments, like, subscribe. I hope you enjoy these videos. I'm enjoying the reading. I enjoy talking about this stuff. You may not agree with some of what I say. I'm just giving my perceptions. I'm not a professor. I'm just reading it and giving you my impressions. And I do look up a little bit of information online, but I'm not reading 16 biographies of Harlan Ellison to find out what he ate for breakfast on the day he wrote this story. I'm not interested in going to that level of detail. Like I say, I'm not a professor. This is not a class. There won't be a test. I'm just reading and telling you what I think, and giving you my impressions, giving you my thoughts, giving you my side ideas that are brought up by these stories. That's all this is. I hope you enjoy that, and I hope you'll come back for the next video. Till then, bye.